Hello and welcome to this broadcast. I'm Rhoda and Ngozi on Sign Language. Elizabeth Nakakoni will get started. Prime Minister Rhoda Nabbanja has vowed to prove wrong anyone who is doubting her capacity through steering a united and focused cabinet. Nabbanja, who describes the new cabinet as gender sensitive, challenges ministers to regularly attend parliamentary sessions to ensure issues raised by the constituency representatives are responded to. She was speaking while officially assuming office from Prime Minister Emeritus Dr. Rugunda, who expressed confidence in his successor's capacity to deliver.
Let us arise to welcome the Right Honourable Prime Ministers.
History has been made. The first woman to become Prime Minister of Uganda has officially assumed office.
I will sanitize.
Very good.
Rhoda Nabbanja is the fourth to become Prime Minister since Uganda returned to multi-party politics in 2005. She follows in the footsteps of late Apollon Sivambi, Amama Mbabazi, and Dr. Rugunda. She wants to see a united cabinet for effective service delivery.
I did not expect to be in this office. But let me tell you, the courage I have, together with you members, many things are going to change.
These comments came just shortly after taking over from Prime Minister Emeritus Dr. Rugunda. He expressed confidence in Nabbanja's capacity to deliver on her new role.
Prime Minister Rhoda Nabbanja has special credentials. And the first credential that I want to really stress is having both the practice and the knowledge of grassroots work.
It is this same capacity that she promises to apply to prove the disbelieving Ugandans wrong.
Some people were calling me a villager. Yes. Others were like, she can't even be a CEO of a garbage company. We have to prove that we are not that type.
Surrounded by both men and women, the office of the Prime Minister is made up of Deputy Prime Ministers, Cabinet Ministers, and Ministers of State. Of these, majority are women, making it gender sensitive.
Are you aware that we have started 7 women ministers? Started 7. And that is 45% of the total cabinet. It has never taken place. So let us give a big applause to NRM government.
However, gender sensitivity may not be enough without teamwork. This was one of the appeals made by Dr. Rugunda to the incoming Prime Minister.
All those could not have been achieved without the cooperation of different ministries, different agencies. Have we made progress or not? The answer is yes.
To be able to achieve the above ambitions, we must effectively get coordinated now.
This commitment is in line with the expectations of the President from the new cabinet, as highlighted on Monday during the swearing-in of the new ministers.
Now we have got a parliament for the next 5 years, and now we have got a cabinet. So we are set now.
Rhoda Nabbanja was appointed Prime Minister of Uganda on the 8th of June 2021, alongside Jessica Alupo as Vice President, among other appointed ministers. They have since been successfully vetted by Parliament and subsequently sworn in. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Meanwhile, Honorable Sam Kutesa has handed over office to General J.J. Odong as Minister for Foreign Affairs after serving 3 consecutive terms in that capacity. Both Sam Kutesa and J.J. Odong thanked President Museveni for allowing them to serve Ugandans. Now, the handover ceremony took place at the Foreign Affairs Ministry in Kampala. Let's take a look. In another ministerial appointment and deployment, outgoing Agriculture Minister Vincent Bamulanga Chisempija has handed over office to the newly appointed Minister Frank Tumwebaze.
Ministry for the last year that foreign affairs is the face of upon your appointment as Minister of Agriculture and Management of Fisheries, and I wish to welcome you here today and also hand over to you this very that you are finding a very good team. We have managed to put our team together, and we have really, to me, we have now set a foundation for
And the National Unity Platform NUP has fronted Butambala County Member of Parliament Mwanga Chivumbi as their sole candidate for the chairmanship of Uganda Parliamentary Caucus, with the biggest membership of 98 MPs in the National Assembly, kicking out Mukono District Woman Representative Betty Namboze, who had walked out of the meeting held in the Members' Lounge in protest. Addressing the media shortly after his endorsement by NUP MPs, Mwanga Chivumbi pledged to unite Buganda and issued a stern warning to government over land disputes within the region.
Legislators on National Unity Platform Party spent better hours of Tuesday in a closed-door meeting at Parliament, convincing 3 other members to step down in favor of Mwanga Chivumbi, MP Butambala County, for Buganda Caucus chairperson. Others who wanted to contest from NUP include Mukono Municipality MP Betty Namboze and Rubaga South MP Aloysius Mukasa.
So people can be disconcerted, but when we have agreed as a group that this is the way we should move and also follow our party constitution, when somebody does not agree with that, it's understandable, because like I'm saying, maybe they were very interested in this seat and so on, but eventually we shall bring them on board and move together, because that's important. At the end of the day, yes, you'll be disappointed you've not gotten this seat or whatever, but there's plenty of room for all of us to serve.
Addressing the media shortly after his endorsement by NUP MPs, Mwanga Chivumbi pledged to unite Buganda and push for accountability from government over land ownership.
We make a lot of noise about Milo land. How about what they call Akenda? Because land in Buganda is divided into 2. The first one are the 8,000 that were given to the chiefs and what we call Akanana. The second one is Akenda, the 9,000. Is it Akenda is 9,000 square miles. Those are what we call public land. That public land for the last so many years has been in the trust and custody of the central government. Now, as we talk about land eviction, land tenure system, we want an accountability for the last so many years. Who now owns part of the 9,000 square miles? We want the Uganda Land Commission to account for every square inch of the 9,000 before they go for the Milo land.
He also promises to deal with unemployment and environmental degradation once he goes through the election to become chairperson of Buganda Caucus.
Buganda and Central Region is one of the areas where there is extreme environmental degradation, and we want to put that issue at the forefront. The question of unemployment. Most of our people are the ones that are going for cheyo and all the other stuff. So we want to ensure we press all these issues.
It's not a done deal. Mwanga Chivumpi of Noob now faces tight competition from those who will contest from NRM party, DPFDC. The winner will now become chairperson of Buganda caucus. Philip Aguta, UBC News in Parliament.
And residents living in the outskirts of Kampala are spending much of their time playing cards, Ludo, amongst other games during the lockdown. Parents are keeping their children indoors to avoid the spread of COVID-19. As Ivan Juko reports, citizens gave their opinions about government's system of giving out relief in form of money compared to the recent house-to-house food distribution.
Ugandans are counting down to 4 days since the second phase of the lockdown was declared, with the new guidelines in place to deal with those defying the presidential directives.
Let's be careful. We think we shall get solutions to this crisis.
With the much efforts put in cities to curb the spread of COVID-19 due to big populations, today UBC TV visited places at the outskirts of Kampala, such as Ndeba, Natete, Kabowa, Wankulukuku, Busega, to check on how the standard operating procedures are observed. Roadblocks and checkpoints were staged along main roads to regulate movement of people from one area to another. At Busega roundabout, traffic police stopped and engaged 2 youths traveling on a motorcycle for defying the presidential directive. At different points, groups were seen playing cards, Ludo, as a way of killing boredom, much as this could put them at risk of catching the virus. Parents say they have resorted to keeping their children indoor as a way of shielding them from catching COVID-19.
Kati saawa zino we bamala onywa chai tubawa ebitabo ne beebulizaako awo namala osoma ku bitabo n'obaterako ku TV w'omaliriza n'oggala ka geeti okusobola okwewala obulwadde.
Akuuma era oyo gw'olaba musangayo mu kyapa saagala ave wano atambule owulira bano nno b'amagye nja bayita bakutwale.
Tubakuumira waka ne babeerawo mpolampola we batyo.
In another development, Ugandans question the effectiveness and the significance of the new system by government of sending cash relief to the vulnerables. Evelyn Nabata, an 85-year-old resident of Mutebi Zone in Ndeba, says though they received food in the first phase and wished to go by money relief system, she does few will receive this money.
Enkola yasooka yatutataaganya yadde twafuna ku mmere oluvannyuma. Naye zino ssente tetuziina mbwesige n'akamu n'akeddagala. Obukadde nze nafuna omulundi gumu. Siddangayo zifuna mpulira bagamba mbo bazifuna. Nze siddangayo zifuna. Nazifuna ezasooka. Naye zaddako nga siziwuliranga bwe tuzifuna ffe abakadde.
Speaking to residents of other suburbs, these were their views about the government monetary system of relief.
Banalondamu batabe bagenda okuwa abasaanidde okuwa ssente ezo n'abatasaanidde.
Nze ssente ezo zisobola okuba tezijja kutuuka kubanga olaba luli akawunga kaagulibwa ne bagaba bakawa abantu ne babawa akawunga akabi.
Ekyo tekijja kusoboka. Lwaki? Gwozikwasizza ayagalako percentage kwoyo gwaba agenda okukola ki okuzisindikira. Tekijja kusoboka kukwata mitwalo 2 agakusindikira nga newe ewaabwe tamanyi kiki kye bataddeyo nga.
However, they say village and area chairpersons should be consulted to help in applying the system amongst locals.
Nze simumanyiiko kimu kwogera nagundi ankubidde nange mpuna nkubira n'endyoka nkola ki manya naye fe abatamanyi zikuba baziwe ku LC sente baziwa ku LC zijja tutuukako.
Thomas Bagonza, the chairman Chimwanyi village in Katanga, when he asked how the system will benefit those without phones, this is what he had to say.
We are kindly requesting them
to work hand in hand with the community leaders. Just like the way we cooperated in the previous exercise of distributing food, we shall at least make sure that those people are also, considered.
Ivan Juko, UBC News.
And city dwellers in downtown Kampala are slowly adopting to the presidential directive on combating the spread of COVID-19. This after dramatic scenes on Monday involving running battles between vendors and the police. A handful of city dwellers were seen hopeless and police on standby to disperse them in case of any attempt to return to the streets.
Unlike yesterday when the city dwellers were spread all over downtown and police engaging them in running battles to leave the streets and corridors, today the situation was different, with city having few people. Earlier in the morning, Kampala city dwellers started entering the city in the absence of police, and business was normal with a few vendors parading their items for sale. Just minutes later, they were back to the running battles with police, giving them no chance to display their merchandise in the streets for sale. However, after police thinking that it had done its work to disperse them, the vendors could return to display their merchandise for sale, taking advantage of the few police constables left behind to enforce the standard operating procedures.
It's the same thing. People are back, yeah, because they are starving, they have nothing to eat.
This 50-year-old woman tells us she cannot leave the city, and what she gets out of small sales, it's what her entire family survives on.
Nkolechi ngende wa ngende sabani na ye katundu no yatubeza mu kibuga atulabirira sawe nensibagadewo buli kimu yonna tewali naye mpulira nako ku mutima gwange mukama bere mbusasisi atusasire fe abazade fe tata fe mama fe abakade mulaba bakazi balemede mu kibuga wano fe abazade no abana baba tata ya fada inze ndina bana tata ya fada nze ndi tata ne mama nze wolaba.
She appeals to the president to consider easing the partial lockdown for the good of many Ugandans who live on hand-to-mouth lifestyle.
Asuse mutima gw'abazade wabanga tata wafoyo ali muzade atlete ensukakyuka abantu bakomewo bakole lwakubanga nze mpulira mutima gwange teteredde nga ndaba baana bange bali kubonabona.
Over the last 2 days, she has been embroiled in running battles with police, but says she cannot go back home, yet she has children to feed.
Olaba abantu basunga bakuba abantu mboko oli ayagala jayiye omwana n'omukazi aliye talina ngeri wa kuyingira mu kibuga okulya. Genda waka, go home, go home yeshiki omu simere omu eri kifo ky'otuula noyebaka kiro.
However, Kampala Metropolitan Police spokesperson Luko Isigire says the general public must respect the presidential standing orders on the partial lockdown.
Has a responsibility. We have been given a responsibility to enforce these guidelines, but the public also has a responsibility of following the guidelines and also reporting whoever is not following these guidelines so that we can all fight in stopping the spread of this disease. So what we are doing is also to enforce. And where we find challenges, the challenges are normal. Human beings are human beings. We shall always face resistance. We shall always face people who will not want to go by the rules. And that is what exactly is happening.
Saddam Mubale, Kalisha Stephen, UBC News, Kampala.
The Uganda Virus Research Institute has expressed fears of unprecedented increase of COVID-19 cases if government fails to provide the necessary requirements in the countering of the pandemic in the country. The country at the moment is The country at the moment is faced with increased cases in the number of people dying of COVID, with at least 15 to 30 people recorded on a daily basis and over 800 new COVID-19 cases registered. Many of the deaths coming out of the National Referral Hospital are attributed to inadequate oxygen to support COVID-19 patients in intensive care units. In this report, Uganda's top virologist and Executive Director of Uganda Virus Institute, Professor Pontiano Caleb, explains how COVID-19 virus survives in the body and for how long.
The virus staying in the body varies, but on average in most people, with the virus will remain there for about 14 days, about 2 weeks. That's why we say about 14 days. And that's when you have really the virus. But some people, it remains there even longer, especially those who have severe disease. It can remain there longer. And others shorter, but let's say about 2 weeks. But that's the live virus. But those who do PCR, they tell you, in those who have had a high virus load, you could still detect PCR after those days, but doesn't necessarily mean you have a live virus. So PCR could detect also a virus that is not live, living. So, but generally we are saying it takes about 2 weeks from the time you really get infected. Now that's different from the disease, because even when the virus has cleared in their body, you can still go down with the severe disease. And that confuses people. People say, but I tested negative and now I have a disease. Yes, the disease process can continue when the virus has gone, because the disease, most of the disease is not caused by the virus itself, but the immune response that the virus creates that disorganizes our lungs, our other body systems. So when individuals come to the hospital, many times, you are trying to prevent that and treat that the disorganization of the body when the virus enters. Of course, there are some antiviral drugs, remdesivir and the rest, but a lot of the drugs that are given, dexamethasone and the rest, to really make sure that the immune system is not disorganized.
Meanwhile, Uganda's oldest opposition party, the Democratic Party, has appealed to the ruling NRM government to devise other practical means of delivering relief packages to the vulnerable Ugandans during this lockdown, other than using mobile money transfer systems that may not conform to the Know Your Customer principle. Let's take a look.
A government proposal delivered to Ugandans by the newly appointed Prime Minister, Rhoda Nakakoni, that government, through her office, is considering delivering relief aid to vulnerable Ugandans during this partial COVID-19 lockdown through mobile money to those with registered SIM cards, and to those not registered, government will provide shopping vouchers.
This time, we shall not give fraud. We are saying people have phones, we shall use mobile money. Those who don't have mobile money, those who don't have phones, we shall use the voucher system.
To the Democratic Party, the pledge, if not well anchored on practical means of sending at least 10,000 daily to the vulnerable Ugandans, the entire concept may turn out to be a fallacy.
The DP suggests that people should be given amounts of money which can enable them to survive. And I have been trying to appropriate how 10,000 shillings can be used to sustain a family for survival for a day. I was saying, for the poorest, if you buy a kaunga of 2,000 or 1,500, that is the maize flour. But you can even buy cassava flour of about 800 to 1,000. Then you buy charcoal of 1,000, you buy some onion, you buy some oil, buy some water. When you add up all of that amount of money, it can add up to 10,000. So a Ugandan of an average life can survive on 10,000 a day. That is barely less $2 or $3. So if Uganda needs Ugandans to survive properly, let them provide a survival amount of money so that Ugandans can be sustained for at least this period of COVID. Thank you.
And the judiciary says it will maintain the performance of its judicial staff to only 10% during the COVID-19 partial lockdown as directed by the President last week, despite increasing demands from advocates to be considered as essential workers. A judicial spokesperson, Jameson Karemani, speaking at Uganda Media Center, revealed that the judiciary will remain open but only to handle urgent matters.
All courts across the country will remain open, operating at the 10%, while handling only urgent matters. The urgent matters here we are referring to include receiving new cases which may be coming from police, because the committing of crime may not stop during this period. So we shall receive cases from police for pre-taking. We shall entertain bail applications for those people who have been charged. We shall also entertain some bail applications for people who are already in prison, but this will be done via the video link only. The judicial officers who don't fit in the 10% and other staff are urged to remain at their homes. However, they are urged to use this time to write judgments and rulings which have been pending, and because they have been engaged in hearings of other matters and therefore they could not get time. So they are urged to use this time to ensure that they write those judgments and rulings which shall be delivered virtually using our video links where they exist, and others will be sending those rulings which are already being sent via emails. All evictions and executions of court orders have been suspended, and these include orders which were already issued. There are some people who may have acquired the orders before this statement was made. Those orders are equally suspended.
Human rights defenders have appealed to government to prioritize family planning amongst adolescents in the fight, that's to fight the increasing number of teenage pregnancies in Iganga during this lockdown. Law enforcers also warn parents against involving their children into labor.
Some in Chigulirera village in Iganga is where we found Kadaya Safina, 14-year-old, in happy 7 vacation, who later turned into a mother of 1 just after completing her primary leaving exams at Bunkoko Primary School in Iganga district. According to Kadaya, she was sweet-talked by a village boy called Gabale Jaliru and could give her 1,000 to support her with lunch while at school.
Yanenda paka ngani mshamukaga twatuka msho musanvu mugo okusatu baigala wa masomero yampenda mugo musanvu kati nabitango webwe nganja kwisomero yapanga sente kati joliyemu.
During the first COVID-19 lockdown, when schools were closed, Gabala had a chance to access Safina at any time he wanted. When she used to go and collect firewood, Gabala could not manage taking care of the young Safina, hence taking off, leaving all the responsibilities to the grandparents, whose financial status was also alarming. Safina's grandparents have narrated to us what they go through, including selling their plot of land to rescue Safina from medical bills.
Azira kyali kukoba nti kinalera mu mwana mwena azira lugoye lwali kuvyala nze nzira sente eri kusobola kumwemerezaago okulya ali kulya mmere eyo ati onkali kwali tasobola kuleeta mabeere mu kifuba.
Era niye baasooka n'okubuuza ati oyenda ki yakoba ati nenda kusoma busawo kumbe bambi yeena yali taidi ng'ali munenda.
Safina's life is hardening day by day more so in this lockdown, and now our families are praying to well-wishers to assist them with some support. Since the boy who impregnated Safina, Rhoda were leaving her with no support.
Kukubira abazira kisa bona gebali nti batuyambe kuba n'omwana mwena amabeere muzira
etesa baba wapaadi nga kyebenda babagemerewo babone nti oba 200 edandiguze ng'alwaire nti okwefunga abe nabyo nga tuyidi nti abaana balamu.
Now we have got another phase or wave of COVID-19. We appeal to parents to borrow a leaf from those model parents we trained in our communities and ask them how are they doing it to see their children the way they are graduating.
Those who advocate for children's rights in Iganga, Lem Hope for Change Africa, have asked the government to consider free family planning methods as the only way to protect young girls who have attained adolescence from getting pregnancy in this second lockdown.
Have medical facilities and their babies are already sick. Some of them are on the streets looking for what to eat since the boys who impregnated them already ran away from them. And that's why we are considering this issue of family planning, because if these children are given family planning, they will not be able to get pregnant.
Children's rights defenders say in this lockdown, parents have turned their children into hawking business, leaving them exposed to diseases and temptations from con men.
You will think that your child is out there selling eggs, tomatoes, or anything, but these children, when they get to the streets, these men, con men that are there, are attracted to them. They deceive them with some little money. And remember, most of them are even infected with HIV/AIDS.
Deborah Namamonde, UBC News.
With that, we'll take a quick break. When we return, business news. You are watching News Tonight.
If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear a mask properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
Fellow Ugandans, you know that the current COVID-19 period is a trying time in our lives. However, we still have another threat that has been with us for a long time, and it is called neglected tropical diseases, also known as NTDs. NTDs include bilharzia and worms that cause swollen stomachs. Trachoma causes blindness, and elephantiasis causes the swelling of legs. These diseases are affecting millions globally, and yet they can be prevented by regular hand washing with soap and clean running water, regular washing of the face with a soap and clean running water, keeping dirty hands away from your eyes, always using pit latrines and discouraging open defecation in your community to avoid flies that carry germs, reporting to the health facility early when feeling unwell. Remember to stay safe and protect yourself. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from a SEN project.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
In efforts to improve quality assurance and Uganda's competitiveness as a tourist destination, Uganda Tourism Board is set to undertake a nationwide grading and classification exercise of hotel and accommodation facilities. As a member of the East African community, Uganda subscribes to the East African Grading and Classification Criteria, a system denoted by stars ranging from 1 to 5. The grading and classification exercise will be crowned by the awarding of star ratings to facilities found compliant to the EAC minimum standards. This is therefore a call to all accommodation and facility owners and managers to register and get licensed by UTB as a requirement and get ready for participation. For more information, visit www.utb.go.ug or email qualityassurance@utb.go.ug for details. Uganda Tourism Board, promoting tourism together.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
What does it mean to be closer together? It's taking the last bus home for a surprise visit. Closer together is strangers finding a connection. It's bringing home something much more than a box. It's the warmth of home, or the beginning of something new. There's magic in sharing the things that we learn, because it's those things that bring us close together.
Today in history.
During World War II, the U.S. 10th Army overcomes the last major pockets of Japanese resistance on Okinawa Island, ending one of the bloodiest battles of World War II. The same day, Japanese Lieutenant General Misue Ushinjima, the commander of Okinawa's defense, committed suicide with a number of Japanese officers and troops rather than surrender. With U.S. victory imminent, General Buckner was killed by Japanese artillery. 3 days later, his 10th Army reached the southern coast of the island, and on June 22nd, Japanese resistance effectively came to an end.
You are still watching News Tonight. Now in business news, Zimbabwe is set to reap its biggest maize harvest since the 1984-85 season. That's because more land has been devoted or cleared for the crop. The Southern African nation endured devastating drought in the past 2 years, which cut maize harvest to 900,000 tons in 2020, half its annual requirements.
Deliveries of grain are rolling in thick and fast at silos across the country as farmers finish drying their bumper crop.
Where we were projecting to have received by now around 100,000, we are well ahead of that. Much ahead of that. As we as we speak, we are now receiving an average of 7,500 metric tons of maize per day. And as the moisture content keeps on reducing, we are expecting the average deliveries to be as high as 10,000, 12,000 metric tons per day.
The producer price for maize is the equivalent of more than $370 per ton. Now, that very good price, combined with quick turnaround in terms of payment disbursement, has seen the majority of farmers opt to fill up these silos instead of selling to private buyers. The state-run Grain Marketing Board will purchase the bulk of what has been grown.
The reason why we are purchasing 1.8 million metric tons of maize, it's because Grain Marketing Board is mandated to administer and manage the strategic grain reserve. So the 1.8 million will also include the strategic grain reserve. We are getting the necessary support from Treasury, and so far the deliveries that have taken place, we are on top of the situation. We said we are going to be paying within 1 week. And true to our words, most farmers have been paid within 72 hours to 1 week.
Because of the plentiful stocks, grain imports have been banned.
It is no longer necessary, and it is also going to be costly if we continue to import a commodity that we have. It is bad economics to worsen our balance of payment support and end up with unnecessary foreign currency challenges.
Zimbabwe has spent about $300 million on maize imports over the last 18 months.
Now in sports, Kenya has named her track and field team for the Tokyo 2020 Games following the conclusion of the three-day Olympics trial in Nairobi on Saturday. The latest cast of the most medaled African Olympics team that will travel to Japan is a mixture of star athletes and fresh faces. They are all hoping to reach new heights during the track and field action, which runs from the 31st of July to the 8th of August.
The Kenyan athletics trials are known as the Mini Olympics for a good reason. Over the years, the East African nation has topped the continent's medal charts in track and field. After a year-long delay due to the pandemic, dreams were made and buried at Nairobi's Moi International Sports Center, Nairobi. And following 3 days of tough competition, Kenya will be sending 41 athletes to Japan to pursue Olympics glory.
We have selected 18 women and 23 men, making a total of 41 athletes. We wish them good safari, successful competition, and to fly our flag high as they keep safe under the prevailing circumstances.
Heavyweights, among them Olympic champions Eliud Kipchoge and Faith Kipyegon, headlined the team. World champion Helen Obiri and a number of reputable names such as record holders Beatrice Chepkoech and Perez Chepchirchir also made the star-studded lineup. All shared similar sentiments. They expect tough competition in Tokyo, but promise to compete for the medals.
Of course, we are expecting a lot of steep competitions in the Olympics, but given the times that we have run here, the time that we have run here is an interesting time. It reflects that we are doing great and we are on the right way. We expect a steep competition, but of course, we will fight.
Olympics are championships. For me, I have no pressure. I'm going to do my best. With the teamwork, the ladies here are very strong. Hope we're going to deliver this time round.
Yeah, to Olympics.
Of course there's pressure heading to the Olympics. This is the only medal I'm missing. I have a world championship title. I'm currently a world record holder, so I'll go to Tokyo and fight for the gold.
I'm in great shape now. I ran last week. I ran a personal best in Florence, and that gave me a morale that I can do better in Tokyo and defend my title.
The track and field squad will now join the rest of the Kenyan Olympic team in a bubble camp before heading to Tokyo in July. After 3 days of brutal battle to make the Olympics for Kenya's celebrated track and field team, the country now hopes that the class of Tokyo 2020 can outshine those of Beijing 2008 and Rio 2016 that each brought home 6 gold medals to top the African charts.
Well, that does it for news tonight. Thank you for sticking with us. Elizabeth Nakakoni is our sign language interpreter. I am Rhoda Ngozi. Have yourselves a lovely night.
Agonya basabing togoli ani Honorable Phyllis Jemtai one MP nya Bakapchora district amite angalole ngalek chene mage ago corona virus kujingat kasala jemda jemingishi bashashak chamyotik karaman bashashak nya ka woit corona awoit karamne jingat bala am koston kyo da am song mokyo kunam bigo je jongaji kubak bigo je jongaji angu jingan bala subdali naga Uganda je jongle kije gunyu bigo jom nyondo spurto nyabo corona angu mi kubak guje jongaji kubak ne bor ndani kijele kamita ngogle bor ndani le muje jagarakte dene jagaraktoy lane jagaraktoy chishe ngalekchu nyabatacha jagaraktoy corona chishe jagar gutu wagi da chishe mask se jagar gutu wagi agwa sarunogi singadle mende jijut kutanda nyago to singen porto am borwon kyo yemak tos bale tiasita wunya kyo tiasite sanitizer daga sabon yondeti sangadle tiasita por ndenyo amnya gutak te jala reisi godi ku bagat nan sanitizer daga sabon yondet kita nyaba samogi nyamuda chile tiashem garomne megan dagot tabana da ulo angenam konyagi dagenam labagoteti lo temwela lo bunbunam borngu lo mu jagot ko utnani de virus ndo bordo nya ko ut borngu da kita nyabang manle majala je yo jemite le jemite chibaroji gai manda je ting de gai koromne chibaroji gai kuyu paro inde nyebundo imbo mitan gayin singela mende je ting gai amnya ya galal ji da nyabon danan coronavirus le resi ko tin ji dage kinyela chibaroji gai koromne amle je mita jiburi am sawan ke jongut nyeba mut yema ga sala je chinya ja gura la vaccination kukwas na sagteke je jongaji je soma ga sa le akweke agande ajamde je janjana am bordin amnya cingat bordin le ka pe burnye maresi jinyai dene ga je janjaning le ngogo jo ngaga jo bordin le me mu jag bagajin mu jam nyan gi sin dene le me mu jag sudung kwabi kita nyebo le tutle je soma kapsale ci burga am sawen ne wala ci burcige ga angu mende jabastade je tinga go bigala cho bonda borwon tuju je demba shige ga so ngale cho je muja ci angu muja ci ga le ga mende to spreading an borde nyo kine nyenga dele la bonda borde pa corona kita nyaba tacha le batin yo met anglai borso na nyori nya gura la fever kita nyaba yenle muja gulai leban mokto kelai mokto karo mun pitaganya barag na mung lol yondet da kita nya basamo kele chachi lal ya welo la bala ka gu talim barir leba konu chachi lal nya bang manle ku nyoru windo am la baka mungdo ya bare muñ la muñ ko kuting nya ba mut chas ya ba de porto kinye ge nyoru science je wutjo am bormu yam la labat sudal speed koja kabaraningi angi dinyaing kinya somok pikyo le mi sibitali nak chebonde yo genyor science cheuti jole sartage koromni oji nyaing so ani nyodo ka somok kapsala chi yetukin darasi nak tiju sangela jagarak tabore kai tabon ani nyodo le kwen makwege Phyllis Jemtai kai tabon.
Ninye Honorable Kangwaje, member of parliament wanyu ahabwabukanga Isingiro district. Omuramwa omuhango nagetereine omukurwanisa omuzugu kandi oburwaire obuturukumanya nka corona erukuretwa akakoko akubarukweta coronavirus ninga shay turukweta COVID-19. Endwara ejo n'endwara eri mu ihanga ryona kandi no munsi yona. Endwara ejo teine myaka, teine buhango, teine basheija, teine bakazi, teine bana, nekwata omuntu we no kwona uburyo umugaiga, uburyo mworo, uburyo mukazi, uburyo mwana konka nekukwata nekukwateta